Hi there, everybody. Welcome to On The Sidelines. John Luck, along with Brad McKinnon, Dom Damiano. Going to be out for a few months here, but we'll try and, shoulder the load here.
It'll be more fun. We'll make it more fun, all right?
At least there's still one big guy occupying this end of the screen.
Yeah.
A lot to talk about here in this episode. We'll talk Patriots, we'll talk Olympics, even a little bit of Bridgewater Little League, but we do start off with what's leading off, and that is the MLB trade deadline. It has come and gone, and the Red Sox, did something. They did make a number of minor moves, and we have the full screen taking a look at what they did since July 9th. Trading CJ Winas, an A-ball prospect, to Detroit for Trey Wingeter, who got DFA'd on the 30th. They traded Moises Bolivar, a player in developmental league, for James Paxton. I'll talk more about these players on the downside coming up here, but as we have these trades on the screen, the emphasis is they didn't really trade any players who were going to see Fenway Park anytime soon for what feels like a number of short-term rentals, with the exception of one player. Overall, what do you make of this trade deadline? Because I have my thoughts, and I'm probably going to go off on Craig Breslow a little bit. But how do you think the Red Sox did?
I think it was poor, in my opinion. I mean, we didn't, like you just said, we traded away players you're not really even going to see. And as we said on an episode before, we needed left-hitting hitters who hit good versus left-handed pitchers.
Yeah.
We did not have that at all. I mean, the stats showed it and everything. We didn't really get that. I mean, what's the one player we got? The catcher?
Danny Jansen from the Toronto Blue Jays. I'll get to his stats in a little bit, but they did kind of address that need. Jansen hitting .273 against left-handed pitching this season. Really the only thing he's done right with the Blue Jays this year.
Yeah. But besides that, I don't think we did well at all, and it's sad because there is hope in the team this year. I joked around saying, they're going to go to the World Series because they had the same record as 2004 going into the All-Star break, but all I want to see these Red Sox do, get a wild card spot if you can, and knock out the Yankees in the playoffs and wrap it up. I don't see them going all the way, but it would be cool to see us show up versus the Yankees, who we have been showing up pretty good versus them this season, which is surprising in my eyes.
But the Yankees did actually make a move. They got
Yes.
Jazz Chisholm Jr., and when you look at the Red Sox players, what they gave up, what they got back, this is kind of like going to the casino, playing the slots with a $5 bill with the 40-cent bets, and you're trying to make that last all day long. Mm-hmm. That's what the Red Sox did here. They got this Trey Wingeter from Detroit. He got DFA'd on the 30th. He was sent down to Worcester just 6 days later. His 2 appearances with the Red Sox, a 27 ERA, allowing 7 earned runs in just over 2 innings of work. James Paxton, he was going to get cut by the LA Dodgers anyway, so if the Red Sox waited another 3 or 4 days, they could have had this Moises Bolivar in developmental leagues and still have James Paxton, who went out against the Mariners in his first time out for the Red Sox, and he got shelled, allowing 6 runs, 3 of them earned on 6 hits and just over 4 innings of work. I mentioned Danny Jansen of the Blue Jays, who you pointed out, good against left-handed pitching, batting .273 this season against left-handed pitching. But over the last 3 years, his batting average has really dipped. 2022 batted .260, 23 he hit .228, and this season he hit .219. They also got rid of Reese McGuire, but that's more of a roster move and other issues if you ask Cal Quantrill. They did make a move that's kind of interesting, or actually a couple of interesting moves, trading away Nick York to the Pittsburgh Pirates for Quinn Priester. And I did a little bit of research on each of these players. Priester has a 6.46 ERA. And Will Millbrooks, who does great work on NESN and CBS Sports Network and CBS Sports HQ, pointed out that if Priester stays in the minors in AAA for just over 3 more weeks, the Red Sox have another year of control of him, so that takes you to 2030. Then we go to really the bigger moves that happened right on trade deadline day. The Red Sox getting Lucas Sims and Luis Garcia from the Angels, Sims from the Reds. When you look at Sims, this season at home in Cincinnati, 1-0 in 24 appearances, 0.83 ERA. Spectacular. Great. Woo, throw a ticker tape parade. On the road, the other 29 ballparks, 0-4 in 19 appearances, and a 7.90 ERA. He's allowed 12 earned runs, 4 home runs. He did throw an inning of scoreless relief against the Red Sox. Same thing with Paxton when he was with the Dodgers. He was great against the Red Sox. So are the Red Sox getting blinded at the fact that these pitchers are doing great against the Red Sox hitters? If that's the case, then Craig Breslow is an idiot for going out there and getting these guys who did great against the Red Sox. Lucas Sims, he's going to be a great, 5th or 6th inning guy. You're getting pummeled by 13 runs against the Mariners. Bring Sims in. Luis Garcia, that could be an interesting one. He could be a great setup guy going to Kenley Jansen in the 9th inning. Really, the only viable threat the Red Sox got at the trade deadline was Luis Garcia. And if that's the case, then Craig Breslow didn't really do a great job. I think if you grade Craig Breslow at the trade deadline, I'd give him a C- or maybe a D+.
Yeah, I don't even think it would be in the C's, honestly. And like I always say, I don't know baseball that much, but I know he did not do good. I paid attention, and I thought the catcher might have been the best pick. You're saying Lewis, but one thing about the catcher too that's kind of interesting I saw.
Doesn't have a record for the police.
He could be the first player that played in the same game versus both teams, because there was a rain delay versus Toronto that's going to be played in the future, and he could be, he is going to be possibly our catcher. So he could have played in the same game on each team, which is something that's never happened before.
Good luck keeping score of that one.
Yeah.
Baseball, you still write down in the diamond, 1B, 2B. So Breslow made some comments on his first trade deadline after the deadline passed around 7 o'clock, saying, quote, "Yeah, first time in this seat. I was able to kind of follow the ups and downs, and it was a bit of a roller coaster, but I think that's pretty normal for this time of the year. I think most fortunately we were able to accomplish what we set out to do." Really, Craig Breslow had this wish list of players that he should have gotten a couple weeks before, and I think that would have helped the Red Sox not have to give, in the case of Luis Garcia, a 4-for-1 situation, a 3-for-1 situation. You can maybe go with a 2-for-1 or a 1-for-1 trade with some of these teams, if you trade July 15th or July 19th. But as you get closer to the trade deadline, your needs are kind of replicated by what the Royals need, the Yankees need, the Mariners. All these teams that are already in the wild card race with you, they have the same needs that you do. So now you're in a bidding war with the likes of the Mariners, the Astros, the Rays, and you're getting outbid because
they spend money too.
Well, that plus your prospects in Boston are laughable compared to some of these other teams like the Royals and the Rays. They have a number of prospects that they can do a little bit of wheeling and dealing with. Craig Breslow went out here and traded away some of these guys that are in high single A, in the developmental league, Florida Gulf Coast League. That's 4 or 5 years away. If that's what you have to trade, then it's going to be a very dicey offseason coming up for the Boston Red Sox.
It's basically lobster food right there, bottom of the bucket kind of stuff.
So we look at what the other teams that the Red Sox are in the wild card race did at the deadline. The Yankees, I mentioned, traded for Jazz Chisholm Jr., Kansas City trading for Paul DeJong and Michael Lawrenson from the Texas Rangers, DeJong from the Chicago White Sox. And the Seattle Mariners just had themselves a hell of a deadline, trading for Randy Arozarena and Justin Turner to help bridge that gap in the IL stints for J.P. Crawford and Julio Rodriguez. Again, the teams that you're in a race with, they did a great job at the trade deadline. You did a marginal at the trade deadline.
Big for sure.
So we go from let's end with this. Do you consider this trade deadline a dud?
I do. 100%. I do, for sure. For the Red Sox, 100%. And like you just said, all the other teams in the wild card actually going out there and grabbing stuff, that was not good for us. Because, that just means everyone needs to show up more than they have been. There's been some crazy outfield grabs and all that from the defense I've been noticing on the Red Sox. Defense has been playing a little bit better, but like we've said, we need hitters.
I don't know if I'd consider it a dud as much of maybe a clunker.
What?
Because the Red Sox did make trades. They got what they needed to. We always said they needed someone that could hit left-handed pitching. They got that. We said they needed relief help. Yeah. Okay, they got that. I just think Craig Breslow waited way too long to pull the trigger. One thing the Red Sox weren't shy pulling the trigger on is signing their manager, Alex Cora, to an extension As they were getting pummeled 20-7 out in Colorado against one of the worst teams in the league, Cora signed a 3-year, $21 million extension. Breslow said that when he walked into the clubhouse, he actually got a round of applause because the players obviously approve of this, and Alex Cora has a little bit of security, some extra money, and a few extra years added to his Red Sox tenure.
I do think Alex Cora always had the respect of the locker room, for sure. And no matter what team he had, he does seem like a likable guy. And I mean, middle of the season, when you sign, it usually means, hey, I don't care what happens, I'm here. I want to be here. I want to make us a winning team again like we were. And I mean, $7 million, it's up there, but it's not too bad for a yearly income. I mean, you have a few others right there who aren't that bad.
Right, so we have the highest paid MLB managers as of, call it the end of July. Craig Counsell with the Milwaukee Brewers signed a contract this past offseason, 5 years, $40 million, surpassed Joe Torre for highest annual average value for a salary for a manager. Alex Cora, $7 million, that's going to start next year. Then you go to the White Sox, Pedro Grifol, I believe is his name, $5.5 million annually, and then Torey Lovullo with the Diamondbacks, right around $5 million annually. I'm kind of confused why this happened now. If this happened at the start of this season, I could understand Alex Cora wanted to give a jolt. Did he do it to prove to the players that he's in this for the long haul? Did he do this to try and take some of the attention off him when reporters asked the players in September, how do you feel if Alex Cora isn't the manager in 2025-26? Or did he do this because he still feels bad, or he still feels like he owes something to ownership because they had him come back in 2021 after his punishment with the Astros came and went? He sounded like he was a very sorry guy in 2021 before that season started, and that it sounded like he almost added or had a debt that he couldn't repay to ownership for having him come back. He's a very loyal manager, but I feel like he could have gotten more money, maybe a better situation with another team, maybe a New York Yankees, maybe Chicago White Sox. Maybe he'd have more say in front office moves at the trade deadline like this. Maybe that was part of whatever deal or extension he signed with Craig Breslow. Maybe he's going to have a say in the future.
I mean, he definitely, like you just said, he definitely could have shopped other ways. He's a winning GM, no matter what happened in Houston. And, I mean, he won it with us, too, in 19 or 18, whatever official year that was. But I really do think it was more of a, hey, guys, I am here. Like I just said, I'm here. Let's go back to where we used to be on top. Let's see if we can all stick together through this and get a little bit better day by day. I really think that's what it was all about with him, just because I do like him as a coach. I mean, I could have said bad things about Don Sweeney, or not Don Sweeney, Bruce or Montgomery over there. I could have said bad things about Bill. The worst things I feel like you want to say about Alex Cora is what happened in Houston. There wasn't too much bad things in Boston, in my opinion.
So in Alex Cora's situation, it sounds like this was also predicated on the family aspect of things. It sounded like he had a conversation with his significant other. I think his daughter graduates from BC either in the fall or upcoming spring. And I think he also has 2 sons that are just starting school. So it sounds like he has his roots here in Boston. And I got to give a little bit of credit to Craig Breslow that they didn't lowball him on this offer, because they could have easily gone, all right, we'll give you 3 years for $15 million or 3 years for $12 million. It sounds like they kind of did Cora a solid for Cora doing them a solid in signing before the offseason, when he could have had everyone coming at him with different offers.
Yeah. It's definitely good. Like you just said, I think it's good for the team on how we did it there during the middle of the season. Some people question that, but at the same time, I do think, hey, he's here for not the long run. I know it's 3 years, but he wants a team to build, and he doesn't want to be worrying where his job is and all that.
On Sunday, July 28th, the Bridgewater 12U Little League team made history, becoming state champions after beating Acton-Boxborough 3-1, earning them a spot in the New England Regionals, with the winner of that going on to Williamsport later on this month. Bryson Bucher had himself quite the day, pitching 4 innings, allowing 1 early run. And if that's not enough, Buecher actually made an insane catch in center field to help get the team closer. The final out came thanks to Hunter McCargue diving on a ground ball and twisting to throw to first for the 18th and final out. And on your screen, you're looking at the video that Bridgewater Little League was kind enough to let us share with viewers. And it was a great homecoming for the champions. As I said, the next stop is the regionals down in Bristol, Connecticut in the New England Regionals, a double elimination tournament. Now, depending on when you're watching us, the first 3 games of the tournament, the first round and the first elimination game, are on ESPN Plus, so you'll have to pay to watch that. But the rest of the games are on ESPN, and I think it's safe to say that the kids from Bridgewater are going to definitely have quite the crowd behind them rooting them on.
Oh, they definitely will. And like you just said, the bunker kid, that catch, I have to pull it up right here on my phone. The Enterprise quoted it. He looked like Superman. And he really did. When you see that picture, it's crazy. And, I mean, for him to be the pitcher, too, I didn't know that. That's crazy. Good for that kid, for sure. I mean,
Better than half the Red Sox relievers.
Yeah, Middlebauer, I know a few years went to Pennsylvania. I think it's Bridgewater's time to get down there.
Yeah, it should be fun, and I know that they'll have a community behind them, rooting them on. That action starts, depending on when you're watching us, this Saturday, and the road to Williamsport could be on for the kids from Bridgewater.
Go Bridgewater.
When we come back, we'll go from champions here in Bridgewater to an absolute dumpster fire down in Foxborough. We have more coming up right after the break. Back here on the show, it's time to talk a little training camp, and the New England Patriots are 6 practices in when we're recording this, and it's kind of been an up and down roller coaster. But overall, when we think training camp, we go back to the days of, Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, when training camp was the place to be. But it feels like now training camp is just, there. It's an activity to go to.
Bring your kids there,
but it's not exactly.
It's not exciting.
Holding the same status it once did.
100%. And I mean, it's because, like you just said, we don't have players like Gronk and Edelman. And I mean, even the defenders, I bring my nephew there a few times. They all showed up, walking down, getting everyone going. And they were all big names, No disrespect to the team, but I mean, we don't have that many big names anymore. We got some stars that are being made, like Christian Gonzalez and hopefully Drake May and Polk and Baker, but we'll see what happens. I mean, like you just said, we're 6 in, and it's good to hear that at least Drake May is fighting with first team with Jacoby Brissett. They're both getting just about equal amount of reps with the first team. And like we talked about, Brissett will probably get the first few weeks, but I would like to see our first-round draft pick quarterback start pretty early in this season. I would.
Not to put a needle in your positivity, because I'm doing great at that.
Oh, yeah, poke it. Go ahead.
Who did they compete against, that first-team offense? Who did they compete against in practice?
No one really.
Yeah, there was no Matthew Judon. There was no Devon Godchow. There was no Christian Barmore. I think he has blood clots.
Blood clots, yep. On his birthday, the poor poor guy learned that. Yeah,
I mean, there was nobody playing for the Patriots' first-team defense, so anything that happens positive on offense, I kind of put a little asterisk next to. And it sounds like this situation with Matthew Judon, that's only going to get uglier and uglier. Reading an article here from Mike Reese. Multiple players told ESPN they didn't see Judon at the facility Tuesday, but it wasn't clear if that was Judon's decision or dictated by the team after what unfolded on Monday. Judon, who previously said he doesn't feel his contract reflects his value and was seeking an upgrade, had generated attention by sitting on the top of a flipped-over trash barrel and a gym mat as his teammates went through drills Monday. It was the team's first day in full pads, and Judon was wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt, seemingly in protest of his contract status. Gerard Mayo walked over to him and spoke to him for a short period of time. Judon then got up and said something to Mayo before walking off the field. Judon also spoke passionately with Executive Vice President of Player Personnel Elliot Wolf and Director of Player Personnel Matt Groh. Now, on the Shut Up Mark podcast posted Monday night, Judon said, quote, "I love football. I don't love the business of football. I don't want to be the villain. I don't want to be the bad guy, but it's like, shoot, help me out. We got the most cap space in the league right now," end quote. This is going to be a disaster.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I like him. He's a good edge rusher, and it's not someone I'd like to lose when we're trying to build a defensive line, and hopefully they can work something out, because he might be worth a little bit more, but not a crazy amount more, for sure, because, I mean, he gets hurt, too. He forgets that he gets hurt, so.
Go back to last season. He missed 13 games last year. It's kind of insane to go up to your boss and say, I deserve more money.
After missing 80% of a season.
I went on basically a 3-month vacation. Now, granted, he was on the sidelines, but he wasn't on the field. He couldn't help his team out because of injury. But still, it's difficult to go up to your boss and say, pay me more after you played 4 games.
Oh, it definitely is. And it does stink because, like I said, I like him. I do, but like you just said, I see this getting a lot more messier before it gets any good when it comes to Matthew Judon.
And let's approach this from another direction. Would Matthew Judon pull this crap if Bill Belichick was still in charge and the director of player personnel? Would we have the same result that we had on that Monday and Tuesday that we're talking about?
Might be a little drama, but nowhere near as much, for sure. There might be a tiny bit, but with Bill there, it would have been a lot more locked down,
And I say that because Devon Godchow, another Drew Rosenhaus client, actually went vocal about his contract too, saying, quote, "It's frustrating playing out here with no guaranteed money. I consider myself one of the dominant run players in the league. I just want some respect," end quote. And there's been talk of Gerard Mayo having players run laps on offense for, having miscues. I'll get to that in a little bit. But Gerard Mayo is walking into the lion's den with this situation, and I think we're going to find out a lot about Gerard Mayo's managing techniques over the next month or so, because if he can get Matthew Judon to kind of simmer things down, and same thing with Devon Godchow, maybe be that bridge between the players and Elliott Wolf, that's going to help them out. But if you continue Judon sitting on garbage cans and, basically throwing temper tantrums on the sideline for money that he does deserve, let's not, make things sideways here. Matt Judon deserves all the money that he's looking for. But unfortunately, you also have to figure out that there's other players that you have to re-sign too. And right now you have 2 Drew Rosenhaus clients going face-to-face here at the contract table, at the negotiating table. And I don't know if that's going to work out great for Gerard Mayo, trying to keep all these egos at bay.
It's definitely going to be tough for him. It's his first year coaching, but as you said, he does need to be the bridge between the players and Elliott Wolf and all the higher-ups up there, because Bill Belichick was. That's why we got rid of that's why we got Jimmy Garoppolo. Got rid of Jimmy. That's, what I'm saying.
There's only one player that can pull that stuff, and that's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Anybody else, if you...
Pat Mahomes, too.
Yeah,
we don't like him, but let's give him a little
though.
credit. All right.
Unless you're the Oakland or the Vegas Raiders and just trying to start a firestorm with Patrick Mahomes and that Kermit the Frog
Kermit the Frog, I saw that. How many times have you guys lost to him for the division? I wouldn't poke the bear,
That was the stupidest move ever. But I mentioned 98.5's Matt Dolloff was at training camp, and he wrote an article talking about Gerard Mayo's coaching approach through some of these offensive miscues. After 3 straight plays of what would have been 0 yards in a real game, Gerard Mayo made the Patriots' entire offense run a lap. The offense came out of the huddle for a 4th play, but appeared to be lined up wrong, as Mayo stopped the play before they could run it. Projected starting quarterback Jacoby Brissett had an animated reaction to the pre-snap miscue. All 45 offensive players and all offensive coaches took a jog around the practice field for their troubles. I'd love to see Alex
Even
Van
the
Pelt.
coaches?
Yeah, I'd love to see Van Pelt running laps. It was the 2nd straight day that Mayo made the entire offense run a lap over pre-snap problems. On Monday, during the first padded practice of the summer, rookies Joe Milton and Javon Baker couldn't connect on a pass, which capped a rough stretch for both Milton and fellow rookie Drake May, leading to the first lap for the entire offense. Bill Belichick did this in the past. I don't know, again, if it's going to have the same message now that it's Gerard Mayo, who hasn't played a snap on offense, telling these offensive players,
what they're doing.
You need to get it together, run laps to help make you think about what you did. I don't think it's going to mean the same coming from a rookie head coach.
It's not, but at the same time, I'm glad to hear he is doing that because our offense is what 100% needs to figure it out. Our defense, it's not top 5, but it's top 10 in my opinion if we're all healthy. I mean, maybe not because Bill Belichick's not going to be there anymore, and he always, I don't care, Matt Patricia, you weren't the defensive coordinator, or any other defensive coordinator, you were not the defensive coordinator. Bill Belichick was that guy.
I'd love to see Patricia run laps on offense. That would have been
yeah.
prime time.
Oh, he needed that, I'll tell you that. Not even because his weight, how bad the offense was when he was here. I don't know why we ever hired him for offensive coordinator.
And I should be one to talk about that, but Jacoby Brissett, it sounds like he's going to be the week 1 starter. How do we measure success for Jacoby Brissett? Is it going to be him making it through a season because he has had injury issues, or is it going to be him bringing this team to be in contention for a wild card spot?
He's more, in my eyes, a mentor than anything. I don't see him starting longer than week 3. And then I do think Drake May will probably take over. I don't think we signed him as a, hey, you're going to be our quarterback all year. It's a, hey, you've been here under Tom, you've been here under Bill, you've went other places and got other experience. Show us all that, put it on the table, and let's see what we can do. I do think he's more of a mentor than our starter all year.
I approach things a little differently. I think Jacoby Brissett will play until he gets injured. As I mentioned, he is a high injury risk.
100%.
Then you're going to have Bailey Zappi come in. The Patriots threw Mac Jones out there at the start of his tenure with the Patriots, and we saw what it turned into.
I mean, year 1 was a playoff year.
Getting blasted by the Bills.
Still, but year 1 was a playoff year.
50,
we shouldn't have even been
51-14, I think.
Yeah, when they scored a touchdown on every drive.
Yeah. Drake May, if he gets redshirted this year, proverbially redshirted, that's a win for the Patriots. Because it sounds like he's a West Coast guy where he needs everything to be in proper position for him to operate great. Unfortunately, your offensive line's been a joke. Can the receivers run the right routes? It sounds like they can't, judging by these reports. I mean, if you have Drake May go in week 5 or 6, you're asking for just failure. And maybe that's what you're going for. Maybe you want that higher draft pick. But I think if you want to help Drake May succeed at a higher level in the future, he needs to essentially be redshirted this year.
Well, me personally, I do think the Patriots want one more high draft pick for linemen, maybe even 2 linemen. I know we just got a left tackle and a guard, I believe it was, in this draft. I know one was a guard and one was another tackle. I forget which spot, but I do think we want one more horrible year, and then we can say, hey, we're rebuilding no matter what. So you might as well go aim for one more top 5 pick. I'm not saying go 1 through 3, but maybe if you get 25 through 28 spot in the whole league, which we're probably going to get no matter what. I don't know. I do think one more year with proper drafting, which I think for once we did this year on offense, because I mean we only got 1 defender, I'm pretty sure, out of all our draft picks. And I mean, I do like Polk, I do like Baker. Yeah, maybe they're taking a little bit to figure out their runs, but as long as Baker can stay not in trouble and all that, I think he was a steal. And Polk seems to be pretty. You see a few highlights. I know it's six practices in, but they've had some crazy catches, and I just love to see us have a draft payout because it's been a little bit, especially offensively. I mean, what's the last offensive player that paid out? Sonny Michel.
Sounds right, yeah.
You know, and I mean, he didn't even show up that well besides that one playoff run when he was getting 3 touchdowns every round, and then he got the only touchdown in that Super Bowl.
Needless to say, the Patriots are going to have an awful year, so it's another fun year hanging out with Scott Hansen on TV, watching Red Zone. So 7 hours of commercial-free football, why not? That'll do it for On the Sidelines. We have overtime coming up, and we'll talk about the Paris Olympics, and who knows, we may even have a flashback to 2015. Welcome to On the Sidelines Overtime. John Luck, Brad McKinnon, and time to talk a little Olympics. I didn't think we'd ever talk Olympics on this show, but the Paris Olympics, when we're recording this, in full swing. And it's interesting because the 2024 Olympics may have actually been getting ready to take place in Boston. And we keep referring to the fact that we did have a sports show here in Bridgewater on BTV called Out of Bounds. So I thought, why not look back at the great discussion that we had talking about the U.S. Olympic Committee giving Boston its bid to host the 2024 Games. Needless to say, thank God it didn't turn into this. I don't know, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Boston has won the U.S. Olympic Committee bid to host the 2024 Summer Games. This is a bad idea, but nevertheless here. But Brian, I want you to take us through a little tour of some of the facilities that we're looking.
If you look to your left,
Oh snap!
that we're looking at here, because you said it before the show, but this is basically going to be a college Olympics.
yeah, it's going to be the College Olympics. They plan on really fully using Boston College, Boston University, Harvard, Northeastern, MIT. I mean,
Massasoit.
yeah, Massasoit.
Bridgewater State can host table tennis. Why not?
Massasoit's got jogging.
I have the math in front of me right here. I'm not going to read off everything, but for the events that are going to happen outside of Boston, obviously Gillette Stadium would host soccer. The Merrimack Valley would be rowing. I guess the IOC was not too thrilled about the Charles, so I guess that's not.
It's dirty.
Yeah, well, you gotta love that dirty water.
Hepatitis.
But for example, like men's basketball, gymnastics would be at the TD Garden, beach volleyball at the Boston Common. That's going to be an interesting one, I'd say.
Yeah, right between the trees.
right between. As soon as you come off the subway, just boom, there it is. It's
Yeah,
just a ball just hits you right in the
Park
face.
Street. Park Street.
But and
Change here for the orange.
the most impressive thing here to me is the Olympic Stadium and track and field. And this is how it's been described.
All right.
It's a temporary 60,000 seat facility. I don't know how you get
Is this like a dream?
I mean, are we going to get a bunch of these chairs and just put them around, or you just get a bunch of bleach? I honestly don't understand that part.
Are they going to put this together with a bunch of milk crates?
Well, I think
How is it temporary? Like an inflatable?
You know what?
It's going to float in Boston Common.
It's going to be one of those moon bounces.
Yeah.
hey, 2024, you never know what kind of technology you'll have.
Yeah, and obviously,
Yeah.
and there's
It's
other
a hologram.
there's other venues that I could read off here, but nonetheless.
Anything else that kind of like sounds like a dream?
The whole thing?
Well, I believe it was the Olympic Village. It's going to be like
In South Boston.
pretty much they were going to turn them into UMass Boston's dorms. That was their plan. But they were planning on using Northeastern and Boston University for media. They're going to use Boston College for women's basketball. They supposedly might be using Matthews Arena, which no, it's just I think that's held together by gum string and a bad idea.
So the Olympics would be perfect.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Now, getting back to how Boston won the bid, I can kind of understand how they picked Boston because the other cities were Washington, D.C., and you figured that's way too close to the White House. They're just not going to do that. Just a bad idea. San Francisco, there's just hills everywhere. I don't think there's one piece of flat land in San Francisco. And I believe it was L.A. that was the other city, and they've hosted the Olympics 2 or 3 times already. And they kind of wanted a new vision, so they said, might as well Boston. But I don't even think Boston's going to win because I know Rome is a city that they have to go against.
Send it to Rome, Dubai.
I forget the other.
Some Middle Eastern
I forget the other few cities. I think Korea might be one of the countries.
Good, yeah, there you go.
I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
I mean, it makes zero sense.
The
And
Sony Olympics.
Hamburg, Berlin, Rome,
Germany, yeah.
Paris, and apparently there's
I don't know how
another.
Paris would do.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I don't know if any of you watched it, but when we were, you watched Charlie Baker get sworn in as governor, they kept saying billion-dollar deficit, billion-dollar deficit, billion-dollar deficit. How are we going to
add
pay?
more.
How are we going to pay for these Olympics?
Right, and like I put a thing on Facebook about this. How,
Fa-
see, if you follow me.
Promote your right on the bottom of the screen here. Let's show
Right
a
there.
graphic of Facebook Corey here.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, like with the big dig.
Oh, I don't know if we're going to put it up there too.
No, with the big dig.
Big dig
We
over
couldn't
budget.
even do that. Yeah, we couldn't even do that right with the traffic and the spending. This is a bad idea. Where are we going to do all this construction? Where are we going to get the money? I mean, the state police probably love this with all the detail money they're going to get. But they're the only ones that win out of this. I don't think anybody in Boston would enjoy the thousands of people from Europe and Africa and China and Asia, all these people coming in here tourism. I mean, Boston's crowded enough. It's a little piece of land on a bay. It's just not. It's not built for it. Where are the hotels going to come? I mean, you mentioned all these places. They're going to use all these
pretty much.
old college state facilities for these games, which is a stupid idea.
Well, that's the only thing that's there. I mean, there's no room to build anything.
Boston Common for volleyball.
That's a good idea.
They already have a marathon route, and they're using something completely different that's going to end at the Common. If you have the Charles River, that's not getting used. So the real big sexy things about Boston really aren't being used. Fenway Park isn't being used for anything.
What would you use Fenway Park for?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Because baseball's not an Olympic sport.
I'd say put beach volleyball at Fenway Park. Out in the outfield, have two things. And what's going to happen when the Red Sox have? Were they going to go on the road for 3 weeks? Like, I mean, how are you going to have that happen?
Don't forget, golf is an Olympic sport now.
Oh, right, yeah, there you go. Let's slow that down the Deutsche Bank. And where are all these hotels? Where are they going to put all these people?
No, any
we
hotel.
We can't even host a Super Bowl. How are we going to have a freaking Olympics? This is ridiculous. We're going to put them out in Hartford, and let's just... it's just,
pretty much.
Let's just use Bourne Cedar Park for camping.
Camping's an Olympic sport now?
No, that's where we're going to put everybody to sleep. Right down Middleborough on 44, the big X camping ground. That's
KOA.
Yeah, there we go. That's a great place. This is just a big, I can't use the word on air. Show. Something show.
You already said dumbass.
Yeah, whatever. Dumbass show. Oh my God, it's a nightmare waiting to happen.
This is funny because you loved this idea at
I
first.
did, and then I really thought about it.
Then you thought.
Yeah, because
Don't you hate when you think?
No, the one I was promoting was the Winter Olympics, which is great because we can send them
You still couldn't put anything in there.
No, but then you can send all the jamokes up to Maine and New Hampshire.
All right. I don't think you can refer to them as that.
Whatever they are. Have them go sledding up there and do all
But
this
then
sledding.
Maine would be hosting the Olympics.
Good, let them host it. Send it up to Bangor. Moose riding can be in a competition right up 95. See you later.
There we go.
Opening events can be at Gillette Stadium before a Patriots game.
Before the Patriots game.
Sledding can
right
be
at
on the
CBS scene.
Yeah, sledding can be on Blue Hills, right into 128. You can stop traffic for a half hour.
So we were talking about the KOA being a potential housing area for fans. The KOA is a great place. They got some great cabins there in Middleborough, but yeah, this would have been an absolute disaster if the Olympics were in Boston.
The KOA, is that they saying that's where athletes would have stayed?
I think, if I remember right, that's where the fans are going to stay because the games are going to be in Boston. They're going to house the athletes at like UMass Boston, Northeastern, places like that. And then the fans would basically have to find their own place.
Oh, good luck driving from Middleborough to Boston. Whew. That wouldn't have been fun. And I mean,
that was on the bottom of the list of things that could have gone wrong for the Olympics here.
A lot of things would have went wrong if the Olympics were here. I mean, every town in the area doesn't even have the infrastructure for their own water. I could only imagine what this would have done to the city. I mean, look at Paris. The night of the opening, they do all their ceremonies and then a major blackout. The only place in Paris I saw was some church on some big hill in the background. That was the only place that had any power.
Yeah, so that was one issue. But also the day of the ceremony, someone basically cut the lines to the railway
I saw that.
bridged England or the UK to Paris.
So the high-speed trains had to go on low-speed terminals or whatever it was there, which it's screwed up. I think they said 800,000 people.
Yeah, and also you had the opening ceremony take place on a river where you're going to have your triathlon, and because of the rain that fell during the ceremony and the added, diesel fuel you dumped into the river, the triathlon actually got pushed back a couple days because there were so many issues with the water they couldn't really get it to, levels that you can actually swim in.
You hear the rumors of the E. coli numbers in that river too, and you're just like, eh.
And
the Charles River probably is no better, let's be honest, but...
Imagine the tea during all those...
Just imagining the tea for a celebration parade or just a Boston Bruins game or Red Sox, anything in the city.
And how about in the Olympic Village? I think temperatures are either side of 100 for most of these games. The Olympic Village doesn't have any air conditioning. The athletes actually had to rent air conditioners and put them in the windows. A number of them didn't.
And they don't even want you to have them in there too. It's a crazy thing.
The media is sticking their head in freezers to cool off. Yeah, I mean, the Olympics are just a nightmare. And this goes back a number of Olympics. I think of Sochi, I think Tokyo had issues as well. That was around the pandemic as well. But it's difficult for anywhere to house all these athletes and host all these games. And I think that's a bigger issue that I'll talk about in a little bit. But overall, let's talk about the Olympics in general, the games themselves. You said you watched some of the gymnastics routine with Simone Biles, and you were impressed by that. What's been some of your takeaways from the game?
I mean, Simone Biles is the next Michael Phelps for Team America. She is. And I mean, she already, I just saw a thing, has 8 medals, gold medals. That's the most for a gymnast in all of Team USA history. And I mean, I like a few different things. There was skateboarding that I'll watch. The fencing was pretty cool when that happens. And then you watch volleyball, obviously, and a few other things. I'm more of a Winter Olympics guy. I like watching all the guys. I mean, it's going to be back to all the best hockey players in the league, and the snowboarding. I was a big fan of that. The Olympics are just cool because it's the best of the best in the whole world. It's not just, the Boston Celtics just won the NBA championship, so we're going to call them the world champions. No, you're the American champions. This is saying, hey, I am a world champion. This is where all the cookies come.
Well, basketball, I think, has its own issues, which we'll get to in a second. But when we talk about the Olympics, I think the one thing they have to do is cut it down. And maybe you don't have all of these sports taking place every single Olympics. Maybe you split it up and have, a miniature version of the Olympics one year. Then 2 years later, you have the rest of the sports in another miniature Olympics, in another place. That helps with housing the athletes. That helps with making other cities be able to actually host the Olympic Games. And it also eases some of the security issues.
Or even do something like what they're doing with the surfing this year. The surfers are all the way over in Taiji or something. I forget. It's over in the Pacific Ocean. And why not have, say, gymnasts, skateboarding, shooting, fencing can be in Paris. And then we'll do basketball, this, that in Boston. Then Houston can have this, that, and that. It doesn't all need to be at one crammed area and all that.
Well, I think if you cut it down, and let's say this year in Paris, you have your gymnastics, track and field, basketball taking place this year. Yeah. Then 2 years later, you have the other sports. So, your swimming, volleyball, 3-on-3, tennis take place in another country in 2 years. The tradition of the Olympics has changed. I mean, we have breakdancing in the Olympics. Not to sound like the dad from Footloose, but do we really need the Olympics to have breakdancing? No, we don't. So I think there's a way to cut it down, and I think it also helps get the viewership numbers. Like I was watching fencing this morning on Peacock's Gold Zone, which very handy tool. But I had no idea what was going on. All I saw is these two guys with their little swords going click, 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 touch, and then it was over. Click, 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 touch, and then the match was over. Mm-hmm. I think that would kind of help get more eyes on the sport if you split things up. Maybe have the Olympics in 2 different stages, but that's just my thinking.
The one thing I did like about watching one of the swimming ones is Team Canada. The person didn't put the goggles on, and they won, and she didn't even know she won because she couldn't see. Her eyes were so, all the chlorine and all that stuff, they were puffed up and everything. I was like, wow, she went all in right there. She couldn't, like I said, she didn't even know she won.
Well, the glasses weighed her down, the goggles weighed her down. Take those off, you get a little speed.
I open my eyes under there for a second, I come out there all puffy, in 2 seconds. She's over there doing 20 miles per hour.
The big local story here is the fact that Jason Tatum didn't play in the first group stage game for Team USA against Serbia. Steve Kerr, the Warriors head coach, also the coach for Team USA, said, quote, "It's really hard in a 40-minute game to play more than 10 guys. With Kevin Durant coming back, I just went to the combination that I felt made the most sense. It seems crazy. I thought I was crazy when I looked at everything and determined these are the lineups I wanted to get to," end quote. It should be worth noting that Tyrese Halliburton of the Pacers also didn't play in this game. I'm going to start off here. I don't see what the big issue is if Jason Tatum misses the first round misses the first group stage matchup against Serbia. If we get to the medal round games after 4 games and he hasn't played a second, then that's a red
an
flag.
issue for sure.
How are you going to have Jason Tatum be up there above Kevin Durant, LeBron James, even Devin Booker? Jason Tatum's a great three-point shooter, but in the Olympics, it's kind of inside out. The Olympics are predicated on physical play inside the three-point line, and I don't think Jason Tatum is the best when it comes to that. If it's a three-point contest or you need some of that mid-range game, maybe he's your guy. But if you're in there fighting for boards, you can't have Jason Tatum against a Nikola Jokic. You're just going to get yourself killed there. And let's not forget, for the Celtics, they had 2 other guys playing, Drew Holiday and Derek White. I mean, we can't be beggars or choosers here, but Jason Tatum not playing in the first round or the first group stage game, I don't mind that. That's another game that he doesn't potentially get injured.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he let Kevin Durant get injured. You know, that's the best way to put it. Exactly. I mean, Jason Tatum's great, but like you just said, it's not a big deal that he's not in the first game. In the medal game, you want to see him get some numbers, but we know we're making it to at least a bronze medal game. Come on, let's be honest. At least 2. I said the bronze medal game. There's only 1 game above that too.
I mean, all NBA stars, and you're facing off against teams that have a 17-year-old center. Right. So maybe that says something more about Olympic basketball. Yeah. But when we come back, we'll talk about more sports. We got car-jitsu, we got some waitress competitions, and more coming up as ESPN The Ocho is set to showcase its programming coming up over the next few days. Welcome back. The month of August, it can be kind of slow for sports. We have baseball, WNBA on break because of the Olympics. But ESPN has a great secret. It's called ESPN The Ocho, which of course comes from the movie Dodgeball. Haven't seen that movie. But ESPN The Ocho kind of showcases the sports that don't really get showcased. Kickball, dodgeball. But we have a few sports here. And it's coming up on the 1st through the 3rd, so by the time people are watching this, it's probably already done. But I do believe ESPN The Ocho is actually available on Roku around the clock year-round. So I have some sports here. We'll see if we'd watch it. Starting off with the 2024 World Juggling Federation Ultimate Championship, and all of these descriptions come from the ESPN website. So for juggling, held once every 4 years, the WJF Ultimate Overall Championship is the highest level sport juggling competition in history. All competitors must be previous advanced overall champions and pass through a rigorous qualification process. You watching some Olympic style juggling?
Oh my goodness. That's one that I wouldn't be.
If it's just juggling like the tennis balls or croquet balls,
it's definitely not the tennis balls. It's got to be like the pin things. It has to be those pins.
Or break out the chainsaw if you want to go full circus atmosphere.
Yeah.
Next up, the Three Rivers Waiter-Waitress Competition. Watch as professional waitstaff slalom through a course designed to cause spills and thrills. I'm going to watch this just to see what this slalom looks like. Is it going to be some kid pulling a chair out? You know, some kid with a bike in the way?
So I'll watch that too, because it sounds like an episode of Impractical Jokers. You know, I mean, I don't want to see anyone twist no ankles or anything, but that sounds like it could be pretty amusing, all right?
It's part of the fun. You're talking Impractical Jokers. I'm looking at Jackass.
Yeah.
Next up, speed puzzling. Origins Gaming Tournament of Pieces 2024. 500 pieces of tiny cardboard, one final image, 100 puzzlers, speed jigsaw puzzling at its best. I'll watch it.
It sounds interesting for sure. I mean, 100-piece puzzles, I used to do those all the time. 500? Okay,
100
even
people,
more.
500 pieces.
All right.
That's a lot of cardboard.
So yeah, no, that's definitely testing your brain right there, trying to do that fast too and come out number 1. So that's definitely sounds like something that, believe it or not, might be one of the most competitive things you'll see on this list.
Real question, are you one of those guys that does the edges first or start at the middle and just see what fits?
I do edges, and then you try to do the bigger, whatever, say the bigger faces or the bigger dogs, the bigger trucks.
All right.
And you try to figure all that out.
You start with the edges, then work your way in, because then by the time you get to the middle and ready to throw the thing, you at least finished it.
Yeah.
Next up, the Pop-A-Shot 2024 National Championship presented by Pabst Blue Ribbon. So PBR sponsoring an event on ESPN The Ocho. Nothing screams America like that. For the first time in a quarter century, Pop-A-Shot will crown a national champion. The Pop-A-Shot 2024 National Championship will test the country's best Pop-A-Shot players in a head-to-head tournament-style competition.
What's Pop-A-Shot, when you shoot the things?
I think that's best. I think it's like when you go to the arcade, like Barrett's or Charlie Horse, you know, you have the basket that moves back and forth. Yeah.
All right. I mean, I might skip that one.
That could be interesting. Especially if you're one of those people that front rims it, the ball just almost takes your head off.
Yeah.
I'm all about the personal injury stuff coming into play here. There could be a lot of injuries with these next two. Ultimate Tire Wrestling. 2 big tractor tires, 2 skilled wrestlers, but one goal, just one goal. You have to get 51% of your opponent into the tire.
So you know what's funny? You know I run heavy equipment and all that, and I've almost done a game like this with my friends before.
I thought you were going to say coworkers.
No, with my friend. My coworker's my father, so definitely not going to be wrestling with my old man. But we didn't really wrestle, but we used to just have our fun, is the best way to say it. After flipping them and then flipping people in them, it was fun. But that just because of what I just said there, I'd probably watch that.
But 51% of your opponent, it sounds like some bad mafia movie.
Yeah, get the
Like
top
if you don't
half
pay
in
up,
there.
51% of your opponent's going to be inside that truck tire. And then finally, this one I'm watching 1,000,000%. The Car-Jitsu Championship. It's jiu-jitsu, but inside of a car, where every seatbelt and dashboard are used for leverage, and each round can only be won by submission. This is actually on Stadium Sports, by the way. If you have that Samsung TV Plus, you can actually watch it.
I'm glad the camera 2 there didn't get my face, because what I heard, it was in a car and you can use all that stuff as leverage. Obviously, you don't tap someone out with a.
Just wrap the seatbelt.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. What kind of cars are we talking? Are we talking Dodge Caravans? Are we talking smart cars? The ones we can flip over, me and you? How big are these cars? F-250s, crew cabs?
I mean, the cars I've seen, it's just kind of been like, you know, just a small Toyota S vehicle. I mean, the ultimate...
the seats reclined? What's going on here?
Heated seats, maybe that's it. But if you need to get someone quickly, just open up the middle console there, slam that on their hand. They'll submit right away.
Oh, yeah. You're
Maybe.
violent.
No, I'm just all
You
about...
Celtics fans, man. Everyone says us Bruins fans are violent. We're sweet as dust.
Thanks for watching On The Sidelines Overtime. See you in a couple weeks.